Today's exciting part of the lesson. We are nearing the end of the draft of the service layer, where we're going to write to the database. This is this step 3.3 here. Just to review where we came from, we designed the database model, which is in a file called models.py. We migrated it using opman.py migrate, create, and upgrade. And then we spent quite a bit of time working on this service layer here. The first service layer was a file called crud, which is create, read, update, delete.py. And then we worked on the drafts management. And now we're working on the review and publishing. We finished most of it, and today we'll finish the final step of this 3.3. Okay, let's break this down into separate steps because this step is a little bit more complicated. We're here where we're going to publish the description, but there's only one per food can be published. So if we work with this, so the first thing is there's already a description. We first have to get rid of the existing description, unpublish any existing published description for this food. And then we need to publish a new food description. We have to update the food models description field. Let's get started. We've been using the static method. So we'll go static method. Whoops. Method. And it'll be once again an async function, async definite. And we'll just call it publish description. So it's nice and clear. And the description will return a food description or be none. And we'll have it be pass for now. So the first thing, like the rest of the functions, is that we need a async session, which is how we are talking to the database. Again, the async session is from SQL Alchemy, which is our object relational mapper that we're using. And then we have an ID that we are receiving, which is of type universally unique identifier, ID, and then the published by ID is the same, published by ID, which is the same type, which is built into Python, and okay, that's it for the inputs. And let's first grab our food ID, which we have been getting with the same process as the rest of the methods. Await food description CRUD, which is we created this and it's get by ID. And we just need to pass it. Do you remember? The session and the description ID. Okay, that's great. And there's self-documentation here. So if you don't remember what it requires, you can just see it right there if you do mouse over it. And this was defined in the crud.py file. So we're going to largely copy this, but we'll make a change. So it's the one right above it. Because they're so similar, so if not food description, it's none. And for the next one, the status, what we're looking for is, it has to be approved. So we can only publish approved descriptions. And this is the workflow that we want. We only want to publish the descriptions that have been approved. So I'm in the models.py file. In the previous video, we created this enum, and this is the status. So this is the human status of what this piece of text that was generated by the AI. So it's draft, the junior staff creates it. It's pending review. So the junior staff gives it to the manager at the second step here. The manager either approves or rejects it. So there's 4 possible states here. I'm going back from the models.py file where we have this enum defined to the review workflow file. So there's been some type of update. So we're going to grab the result. We're going to access the database at this step here. And we're going to select the food description. So we'll call up the entire thing where, and we use the SQL alchemy and to match the 2 things, the food description dot food ID equals the food description dot food ID. And we'll also look for the food description that it's published. That's going to be true. So I guess I don't need equals true. Okay. So we'll have existing published equals result dot scalar dot scalar 1 or none. So 1 result or none. If existing published then existing published we'll have is published equals false, and existing published dot status will equal food description status dot published. and I need to create another enum name. So I'll go back in here and I will published equals published. Forgot the final state. Okay, published. Yeah, this is what we want. Okay, so I'm going to scroll up a bit since this is kind of repetitive. I'm going to copy one of the previous ones to write to the database and I will edit it. So I'm going to drop it down here under this section for publish the description to the database, and we have to make some changes to it. So the first one is food description is published. We're going to set it to true because it's published. And the status, you can imagine, it's going to be food description is published. And instead of this approved by ID, we'll have, there's a field in the model for published by ID, and published by ID. You can check the model to make sure that the food description does have the published by ID right there. Okay, let's go back to the review workflow. And we're on to the next step, which is to update the food model description field. Okay, so this is the publishing portion. So we want to record the time that it was published at and not approved at. We'll go published at. Let's first grab the food result. That will be await, because we're going to access the database here. Session.execute from SQL Alchemy. And we're going to select all the food and then filter it where the food ID is equal to the food description dot food ID. And we have food equals food result dot scalar 1 or none. And we'll check if if the food description now exists, if food and food description dot description, then the food description will now equal the food description dot description, and now we can add the food. Session dot add food, and we'll commit the session to the database. So we'll go await session dot commit, and then we'll just refresh it. Await session dot refresh food description, and then we'll return the food description now. return food description. This completes the step 3.3. And in the next video, we're going to set up PyTest and set up some testing so that we can see whether the code that we created in the first 3 steps are valid. And if not, we're going to fix the problems. If you want to get the source code from our GitHub repository for the course up to this point, contact jcasman at opki.com. He's the president of OPI, a friendly guy, and he can help you with any problems you might have with this tutorial series. Have a great day.